This video is a follow-up to my Figma Design Agent video to address so many of your questions that you left me there and to address the elephant in the room. With the Figma Design Agent being natively inside Figma, do you really still need the Figma MCP with Claude? That integration that we spent months learning and setting up. I'm going to show you a live demo where I compare the same prompt between the Figma Design Agent natively and the Figma MCP, the price comparison. What do you get with the Figma credits? And also, what is the model that is actually being used when you're using Figma Make versus Figma Design Agent or Claude with the Figma MCP? And the prompts that I'm going to use in this video are coming directly from your comments. So I'm going to show you how to edit an existing screen leveraging your design system, how to create a component from scratch, and at the end, I want to give you my honest conclusion on how my workflow is transforming. So let's dive in. First of all, the question that I want to address is what many of you are asking me: why don't I have access to this right now? I'm still not seeing this in Figma. And I'm repeating this for you. Please note the Figma Design Agent, if it's visible in your Figma, your navigation will change to look like this. But right now, this is only available to enterprise, organization. Of course, the way Figma rolls things, it always starts in North America with enterprise accounts, organization, and it will slowly roll out to you. So if you're frustrated you haven't had it, I totally understand, but professional accounts should be receiving this soon in different countries according to Figma. Is it worth the wait? 100%. When you are going to have it inside your canvas, I think you're going to value this significantly. Before I jump to address your questions about the credits aspect, I want to pause to acknowledge that many of you are feeling extremely frustrated about all these AI releases that are happening every week to a point where designers can't keep up. And we don't even know what is relevant, what's not relevant, when should we pay attention. And trust me, I feel you. I'm feeling the same thing too. It's not that I love AI. What I love is human beings, and I can feel your struggles as designers, and that's why I'm making these videos, just to support you, to make sense of all that's coming, and so that together we can adopt AI in a more positive way, in a way that actually benefits our workflows. Okay, let's jump into the math situation, explaining credits. So I did some research, and Claude helped me create this artifact to visualize for you what kind of credits you get with Figma plans. So with a starter plan, you get 500 AI credits with Figma. There's a 150 per day cap, but per month you get 500 with professional, which many of you have. If you're independent, you're not getting it from your company, you're getting 3,000 credits. Now, organization gets 3,500. Enterprise gets a total of 4,250 AI credits per person. Now, please note, this includes all your usage of Figma AI, including any search, making images, Figma Make, as well as the Figma Design Agents. And they have options where if you actually run out of credits, you can always pay extra per month just to get that backup credit. The same thing exists with Claude. I think I've shown you that. So this does combine both your Figma Make credits as well as the Figma Design Agents. They're all pulling from the same pool of credits. Hopefully this will help you assess the cost, but for Figma Enterprise, you naturally have these credits for you, and maybe, just maybe, you don't need to pay for Claude separately, and I'll tell you why. This is our segue to talk about the model conversation, because the Figma Design Agent is built on top of Claude. I want you to understand this. So, what model are the different Figma AI features using? For Figma Make, it is using Claude. And remember, I had a video for you where I showed you how you can customize it. Actually, with Figma Make, you can choose what is the model you want. However, in my personal experience, the Figma Make agent works very differently and way less efficiently than the new Figma Design Agent. And digging deeper through some Claude research, what I realized is for the Figma Design Agent that's inbuilt inside the canvas, Figma created their own model that's fine tuned specifically for design tasks. It's not a general purpose LLM, it's trained in partnership with Anthropic and OpenAI. Can you imagine that? They leveraged both top AI LLM creators so they can give us the best experience. And learning that, I was super happy because, yes, I can see a significant difference. The reason I moved from Figma Make to use Claude and the Figma MCP is because Make was failing to give me anything accurate or useful, regardless of the model. However, with this Figma Design Agent, it's way more efficient. It seems to understand and have a huge context of what I'm doing inside the canvas. So, how does that impact you? Well, when you're using the Figma Design Agent, you are using your Figma credits. We already have them anyways. So this begs the question, should you be paying for Claude separately when you're already paying for Figma and Figma is leveraging Claude? It's leveraging the best of Claude and the best of Codex so you don't have to pay for it. So this is definitely something to revisit. Maybe you don't need to, and when you see the demos, you'll understand that even more. The Figma MCP is currently happening at no charge. So let's say your organization is working with Claude, your developers are embedded there, you want access to Figma from there, they wanted to give you that access. And right now, they were not charging any Figma credits for it, but they clearly state in their documentation that they are going to as they continue refining it and when it becomes more efficient. Now that we've looked at these logistics, let's jump into the actual demo where I'm using real prompts coming from your questions to see why would you use one versus the other. In order to do this as close as possible to a real workflow that you would do, I am using the Material Design 3 kit, just so that there's a design system basis for everything that we're doing. And I'm going to show you each prompt, how I used it with Claude and the Figma MCP, and then how I use the same prompt with the Figma Design Agent and the significant difference that I'm seeing. So test number one, I'm going to create a new screen from scratch. Actually, we're going to populate data in it by leveraging our design system. And I dragged these two examples. One of them is a website with multiple product items, and the second part is a detailed item description page. So here's what I said. Add realistic data to the screen respecting the Material 3 design system inside the same file. This page is a website that sells furniture, is displaying different items for sales, including sofas, chairs. Change the images to display realistic web page selling products. Make the changes in the same Figma frame. Even before seeing the result, instinctively, moving from the Figma file was so annoying for me. Like, why would I go inside Claude to do this? If I'm a designer, if I'm in a flow state, I have my design system, I have everything. Why would I want to go to Claude? Almost every other designer that I spoke to doesn't want to. But we did this. Mind you, I'm one of the first people who did this. We did go to Claude, and I've been elaborately talking about the Figma MCPs. I'm not contradicting myself, but things changed. Now I don't need to. Then when I saw it happen, I understood even more why I was resisting that. Mind you, I was using Opus 4.7. It went for ages and struggled since it didn't have direct layers and direct images where it could paste the images. It managed to change the text, but it really struggled to change the images. So then I took the same prompt, I started with the same screen, came to the Figma Design Agent, and I pasted the exact prompt. I had to copy paste it and just look what happened. The Figma Design Agent that is also leveraging Claude and other tools, apparently Codex. It's leveraging the best of both worlds. Went ahead and started editing this canvas. It's a Figma native agent, so of course it knows better than Claude and the Figma MCP how to speak to these layers. And look, by design, it replaced them It replaced the text so much better because it understood what to do. So this goes to show you that the Figma Design Agent better understands the design context and the Figma layers that exist within your file. Even though the very purpose of the Figma MCP was to give that design context, many of you have already told me before, we had to go around and find loopholes to make Claude really understand what's going on here. But it didn't always succeed. This demo, this test for myself, is direct proof to me that what's happening here natively is way better. It's not a workaround. The agent is right here in my canvas. It understands what I want. Most importantly, as a designer, which once again, so many of you have been telling me, your goal is to edit the vector layers, to have the final control. Once the agent has gotten you started, you want to come here and change things as you please. This is still attached to material design. It's using variables. Even the fill is a style because this is how it was created in this library. Now, I wanted to keep going further and I wanted to create and populate this detail page with a sofa that was inspired to me by one of the products created here by the Figma Design Agent. So I got started in the Figma MCP. It struggled so long and it didn't know it had access to Figma Use. And I told it, you have Figma Use, just go use it and write the whole thing. And it still didn't do it for even 10 minutes. And then I paused the task because it just seemed useless. So now let's do this live with the Figma Design Agents for those of you who are seeing this Design Agent video for the first time, if you missed my initial one. But if you want to learn the how of how to do things, please go watch my first video because there I walk you more step by step. So I'm saying populate this detailed page for my product, velvet accent chair, with product images and content to promote it, as well as price and discounted price so the user can make an informed decision. Let's see what will come out. Wow, I am genuinely surprised. Look what just happened. In less than a minute, it's doing this. It's not done yet. But even if you read what it's thinking and processing as it does this, you can immediately tell this is an agent that understands the native Figma canvas. It knows how to go inside. It knows how to edit things. So I find that empowering because it's getting me started. It's not designed to replace me. It still needs me to tell it what to do, to think, to architect. But for those of us who want some support, it can give you that. And it was careful enough to do whatever it did without breaking from my design system library. Just to be clear, with Claude, I was not able to achieve this even with Opus point 7. And I think even with previous videos I've shown you before that even the vibe to vector was so exciting because my goal was to come back to vector. Still, there were real limitations. But now let's jump to another use case and create a new component from scratch. One of my design team members was so excited about this. I wanted to create this particular color picker as a vector component. This is a screenshot that I just downloaded from Google. I would like to be able to leverage it in my own files as a vector component and maybe edit it a little bit. So I took that to Claude with the Figma MCP and I said, create this color picker component and send it to the Figma file. I gave it a link to my Figma file and it started by asking me if I wanted to use my actual design system. I said no, just create it as it is. And it actually did that. It took some time, but it did a very good job. It created this component. If we were to inspect this component a little better, how it created it, you can see it used auto layout. It named it properly. It named all the different layers. So the goal was to create it accurately. And if I go into the hex wheel, wow, it created each one of these shapes as polygons. This is great, actually. So the Figma MCP does enable Claude to write with this much accuracy. When you're getting it to write with your design system, it's not that exact. But Claude with the Figma MCP, creating from a screenshot, it did an amazing job. The agent is able to draw polygons. This is fantastic. Now, to try the same task with the design agent, what I'm going to do is I will get this screenshot inside of my Figma, which is probably what you would do. And I can use the agent either from here or coming from here. And you can see it's selected already. And I'm replicating what I told Claude just create a color picker component out of this color picker image. I don't need to specify that you need to do this inside the Figma file. I don't need to do all the workarounds I've showed you before, where you actually name the file, move it to an actual space that you have access to. I don't have to do all this because this design agent is inside my file and has context to what I'm doing. And let's see the result. Very interesting. Look what got created. And if I were to compare this, this part is very similar to what got created with the Figma MCP, and it's actually matching the screenshot exactly. However, this part, which is all the hexagons that you would select and pick from for the color picker, it couldn't create that for some reason. It's very weird. The honeycomb, look, it created the frame for it. I don't see anything. It just created frames, but I don't see what's inside them. So from the same prompt, it couldn't do the same thing. And to give you accurate facts rather than my own conclusions, I asked Claude. The result was super accurate. How did you manage to do it? Did you build it in HTML first? So it told me no. I looked at the reference image and then I broke it down and then I deconstructed it. Long story short, it went back and forth, and it's saying the biggest thing to its success was that it actually caught its own mistake. So it used Figma's design context, which is part of the MCP, to go and compare what it created with the screenshot, and it was able to enhance it and fix it. So according to Claude, what it did well is that it compared what it created with the original screenshot. So that feedback loop, that compare loop, allowed it to do a better job. And again, that goes to tell you that Claude is fantastic. This is something probably the Figma Design Agent needs to develop. So if you're listening to us, Figma team, you probably need that same loop. Once you've created something, have the agent recheck in order to be more accurate. And this last prompt that I'm doing and testing for you came from a direct question from one of you, whether these tools can create components with states, default, hover, and selected. I specifically even asked it to use Material 3 design system from inside the file. And what I loved with Claude and the Figma MCP is Claude paused and asked me 3 questions, the same way it does in Claude Design. This was not the case before, so I love that they brought this feature because I was able to specify what's the primary color I wanted, where it should place it. I didn't pay too much attention to that. So you will see at the end it created it, but I couldn't find it. So I asked it for the exact link where it placed it. And that's on me because I didn't answer specifically. Put it somewhere randomly here in the file. Let me bring that down closer, especially so we can compare it with what the Figma agent created. Once again, this is what Claude with the Figma MCP created. And basically, let's inspect that. I love that it put it in a whole documentation. It followed Material 3 documentation pattern to document it for me. But let's look at the component itself. And for that, I need to come here to the page structure. So if I select it, you will see it's a card default. Okay, is that a component though? No, I can see auto layout, but it didn't make it a component. That's very interesting. Like I can see a hover, I can see a selected. It did create the elements I requested based on the specification. However, it did not make them components. Let me dig deeper though and see, are they attached to my Material 3 elements? Yes. So it definitely did respect the variables that are there. How about the text styles? Oh, not the text styles. Do you see? It broke from the actual typography text style. Now, we can often think that, yeah, I can easily do this myself. I can click one button and make it a component, and that's the beauty if you choose to work with Claude with the Figma MCP. But now let me compare it to what Figma did. And oh my goodness, this is the big win here. The Figma agent understands what a component means, what are component variants, and this did it significantly better. Look at that. First of all, it did create a component. That was my first ask. It took what I gave it, it made it a component, and if I were to collapse this, these are component variants, which means if I were to option drag one of these, here I have the option to move between hover and selected. So this is the real ask that I asked for. Even though I appreciate that Claude has documented what I wanted, but it did not give me components that I can use and alternate different states. However, the Figma agent knows how to do this because it has context of designing inside Figma, of creating components and variants. I mean, I don't love the final result, but you can easily do that on the level of the component, right? Let me even further validate. Did the Figma component use color variables? Yes, I can see from the selection colors that it actually used the attach variables from material 3. Now, how about text styles? Is it an actual text? And the answer is no. For some reason, the agents in both cannot read text styles. It just used Roboto. I mean, it matched the text style, but it did not use an existing style. And maybe that's why we need to start creating our typography as variables also for agents to understand it better. So my honest advice, when to use which when it comes to these different products, the answer, unfortunately, is not just one that fits all. It depends. Some of you are more vector oriented. You spend most of your days within Figma. So naturally, the agent is more accessible to you. It's easier for you, even if you learn to use Claude. However, even though for vector work, you may prefer the agent, don't forget the Figma MCP with Claude allows you to create interactive prototypes. So if you want to start from a design and actually create an interactive prototype that you can use for your testing, still Claude with the Figma MCP would be a fantastic way for you to go because you want to generate HTML and maybe share that with your developers. So there's a different use case for when you would use both. Maybe for the vector work, the Figma agent is much easier to use within the Figma canvas itself. And also it has better context. So vibe to vector, I would definitely personally do it here inside Figma with the Figma Design Agent because my test is also showing me that it's better at vibe to vector. But if your final output is code for testing or for handing off to developers, I might still use the Claude with Figma MCP. A second reason that would inform your decision is also what kind of credits or plans do you have? If you're in an enterprise situation where your company is paying for your Figma credits or your Claude credits, then naturally you would go towards that. But if you're having to pay for it yourself, then you might need to make this decision because in both cases, you are using Claude. I hope this assessment is useful, but I think the only way to really know is for us to keep testing, to keep experimenting different scenarios, and to see what works best for you. So let me know in the comments, what is your preference?